From a 13-team tournament in Uruguay to a global spectacle watched by billions, every World Cup has had a host, a champion, and a story that changed football forever. Welcome to our explainer on the epic history of the Men's World Cup.
We're going to take a complete chronological journey through every single edition of the world's most beautiful game. We'll map out exactly how this tournament evolved, era by era, from its humble beginnings to the absolute juggernaut it is today.
Section 1. The journey begins, 1930 to 1938.
You know, today a World Cup literally stops entire cities. But back in 1930, mass intercontinental flights just didn't exist. Despite a lot of early doubts, 13 incredibly brave teams spent weeks crossing the Atlantic Ocean on ocean liners just to reach Montevideo. And it was there that Uruguay not only launched the tournament, but lifted the very first trophy, defeating Argentina.
Section 2. First Champions and the War, 1934 to 1954.
Moving into the 1930s, the balance of footballing power shifted entirely over to Europe. What's really fascinating here is how Italy completely dominated this specific era. 4 years after Uruguay's triumph, Italy hosted the 1934 World Cup and perfectly utilized their home advantage to claim the title. Then, they boldly followed it up in France in 1938. That made them the very first national team to capture back-to-back championships. A true dynasty was taking shape.
But then, a tragic global silence. The next chapter took 12 long years to arrive. The 1942 and 1946 World Cups were completely canceled because of the Second World War. When the tournament finally, thankfully, returned in 1950, it landed in Brazil, setting up one of the most dramatic storylines in sports history.
When the games came back, we witnessed two of football's absolute greatest upsets. In 1950, everything was prepared for a massive Brazilian celebration in the Maracanã. Instead, Uruguay completely silenced the home crowd, defeating Brazil in a legendary match known as the Maracanazo. Then, 4 years later at Switzerland 1954, an overwhelming Hungarian side arrived as heavy favorites. But West Germany pulled off the impossible in the final, capturing their first title in what is still remembered today as the Miracle of Bern.
Section 3. Brazil takes control, 1958 to 1970.
As we hit the late 50s and 60s, we enter an era defined by pure Brazilian flair and the sudden, vibrant explosion of global superstars. In Sweden, in 1958, a 17-year-old kid named Pelé stunned the world, emerging on the global stage to help Brazil win the first of its 5 crowns. Then, despite a devastating earthquake just 2 years prior, Chile successfully hosted the 1962 tournament. With Pelé injured, Garrincha stepped up as the leading figure, securing back-to-back titles for a seemingly unstoppable Brazilian squad.
Now contrast that with what happened next. In 1966, England brought the trophy to the birthplace of the modern game, securing a highly controversial home turf victory against West Germany at Wembley. But by Mexico 1970, the whole world was watching the tournament, widely broadcast in color television. They witnessed one of the most admired teams in history dazzle the globe, defeating Italy to permanently claim the original Jules Rimet trophy after winning a 3rd crown.
Section 4. Legends, Drama, and Revenge, 1974 to 1986.
Moving into the fierce 70s and 80s, the game became an arena where iconic individual heroes and completely new tactical revolutions clashed violently on the pitch. In 1974, the host nation triumphed yet again. West Germany managed to figure out and conquer the revolutionary, free-flowing total football of the Netherlands in the final. Then, at Argentina in 1978, the pattern held strong. Playing in front of an incredibly passionate home crowd, La Albiceleste defeated the Netherlands, earning Argentina their very first star on the world stage.
So, the crucial takeaway here is the rise of the individual hero. Spain 1982 introduced a 2014 format, where Paolo Rossi defied heavy early criticism to become the top scorer, leading Italy to its 3rd trophy. But Mexico 1986? Oh, that tournament simply belonged to Diego Maradona. He commanded absolutely everything. Immense talent, unparalleled leadership, and deep controversy against England to carry Argentina to a stunning victory over West Germany.
But hey, football loves a revenge story, right? 4 years later, at Italy 1990, West Germany met Argentina once more, in the final, this time gaining their 10th revenge through an Andreas Brehme penalty. It was actually Germany's final title before reunification. Then, the United States 1994 proved the sport could be a massive spectacle anywhere.
In the hot American summer, Brazil and Italy played the tournament's very first final, decided by a penalty shootout. When Roberto Baggio's kick famously sailed over the crossbar, Brazil excitedly claimed its historic fourth crown.
Section 5. Crossing New Continents, 1998 to 2010. At the turn of the millennium, the World Cup aggressively expanded its borders. It welcomed more teams than ever before and brought the beautiful game to entirely new continents. France 1998 expanded the field to 32 teams, and the hosts celebrated in Paris after Zinedine Zidane scored 2 brilliant headers to defeat a mighty Brazilian squad. But Brazil bounced back spectacularly in 2002. During the very first World Cup held in Asia, co-hosted by South Korea and Japan, Ronaldo completed the ultimate redemption story. He scored twice in the final against Germany to secure Brazil's record-holding 5th crown.
The drama just kept escalating through the 2000s. Germany 2006 brought us packed stadiums and Zidane's infamous final send-off against Italy, with the Italians holding firm to win on penalties for their 4th championship. Then history was made at South Africa 2010. Amid the unforgettable, buzzing sound of vuvuzelas in Africa's historic first tournament, Spain turned their incredible possession-based dominance into a maiden title, courtesy of an extra-time goal from Andres Iniesta.
Section 6. Modern Shocks and New Horizons, 2014 to 2022. This high-definition chapter is defined by massive megastadiums, advanced technology, and jaw-dropping results nobody saw coming. Brazil hosted again in 2014, expecting a home-soil coronation. Instead, Germany delivered one of the most shocking nights in sports history, a 7-1 demolition of the hosts in the semifinal, before claiming their 4th crown. Then at Russia 2018, a young electric Kylian Mbappé led a remarkably fast-paced French squad to a high-scoring 4-2 glory over Croatia, earning France their 2nd title.
Which brings us to the sands of the Middle East. Qatar 2022 was the very first November-December World Cup, and it capped off with an absolute classic. Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappé went head-to-head in an extraordinary 3-3 final duel. Ultimately, Argentina triumphed on penalties, securing their 3rd, long-awaited star and solidifying Messi's legendary status for sure.
104. Just take a second to process that massive number. This perfectly represents how drastically the scale of this tournament changed by the time we reached the 2026 edition. We leaped all the way from those 13 original teams crossing the ocean in 1930 to a staggering 48 teams playing a total of 104 matches.
And what an unprecedented stage it was. The 2026 event was historically co-hosted by 3 nations: Canada, Mexico, and the United States. In the final, played in the New York and New Jersey area, Spain fought through extra time to defeat Argentina 1-0, returning to the very top of the world 16 years after their first triumph in South Africa.
So, what you should really take away from all of this is how the game reflects our world. From those early transatlantic ships to the giant stadiums of today, the tournament has evolved right alongside our planet. Every single era had its winner. But it's the specific cities, the atmospheres, and the unique generational stories that make these tournaments truly immortal. Looking back at these 23 World Cups and 9 unique champions, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Which one do you think was genuinely the greatest in history? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.